Welcome to BlackUSA.News Morning Show. I'm your host, William Honolulu Jr. Join us as we explore the news and opinions that impact our community. We break down how the major stories have a very personal, local, and racial impact. No topic is off limits, but even if the conversation gets rough, we're always going to keep it real. Greetings and salutations, all my people out there in internet land. I am William Honolulu Jr., and I have the privilege and honor of serving as the host of the Black USA News Morning Show. Today is March the 24th, 2022. Happy 24th day of Women's History Month, and happy National Cheesesteak Day. I don't really know what more to do with that. I mean, I like cheesesteaks, but my doctor tends not to like me liking cheesesteaks. But, I appreciate all the small businesses that are holding down with the cheesesteaks. And we're going to talk about cheesesteaks. We need to talk about one of my other favorite cities, Philadelphia. Besides where I live, Baltimore, Philadelphia is one of my favorite cities in the world. So big ups to Philly. I know they're out celebrating National Cheesesteak Day. I also, as always, want to give a big shout out to the super producer, Kyle Crazy Horse Morgan, who really has been holding us down and making sure that we have the resources that we need to bring you the type of show that you deserve. Also want to say a big shout out to our assistant producer, Brandy Raymar, always in the background holding us down, making sure that phone calls are made, paperwork is filed, boom, 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 boom. Doing this takes a lot, and it's really great to have a team of people working with you to make it all happen. So you all know we've been doing our month of Black women, and today is just a continuation of that. I have the incredible opportunity to bring to you all one of my friends, Erika DeShazo. I had to make sure I was pronouncing that right, because like when you have friends, you normally just talk about them in their first name, and then you're like, wait a minute, how do you pronounce that? So I had to ask that. I'm not ashamed. I'm going to normalize asking people about their names, because there's nothing wrong with not wanting to mispronounce people's names. You see? Teachable moment. You learn a whole lot when you come in, don't you? It's incredible. But we're going to talk to her as part of our continuing month of Black women. But for those of you all who may be new and don't really know about the month of Black women, here's a little bit of information. Dear Shanae and Simone, as you move through life as Black women, you will have a very unique experience. In many cases, you will be asked or expected to serve in roles that weren't clearly explained, nor did you really agree to. Over the course of my life, I have met some amazing women who have navigated some of the spaces that you will encounter. I want my village to share with you their stories of trials and successes to help provide a foundation to understand your power to choose the woman that you will become and the strength that you can find in your sisters. This series of shows is my gift to you. The women you will hear from are phenomenal. They come from different backgrounds and have chosen different paths for their lives. Each represents a facet of the Black woman experience. Some of the stories may not align with your journey directly, but those stories are even more important. By listening closely, you can learn about uncommon experiences and find ways to support your sisters along your shared journey. I love you all so much, and I hope to see you soon. So that's our month of Black women. So that's the context where I get to have this next great conversation. I had a chance to first meet Erika as a client working on a very innovative business model, really taking the market by storm and getting people all engaged and excited. And I've had the opportunity to watch her grow and develop, and even how she's made some really tough choices when it came time during COVID and all the things that were going on, and have watched her get married and all of this stuff. So I'm thinking that this is a really great person to talk to about the Black woman experience. See how even that little introduction, there's a lot of like the little Black woman experience all the way going around. So let's bring Erika up. Hey!
Hey, well, thank you for interviewing me today, giving me the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. I've been very excited to interview you. Like I tell the people all the time, I know some incredible and dope women, and it's wonderful when I get an opportunity to have a conversation with one of you all and share that. Well, let me not lie. We have conversations often. I'm talking about a conversation to share with the rest of the people because I mean that's one of the great parts about knowing so many dope people. It's like my conversations are just like this on a regular basis, and I want to share them with the world. So I have a set of show notes because I get excited. And so course gives me a set of notes and said, okay, one of my first notes to start an interview is remember that even though you already know them, the audience doesn't. So give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. And once I get really good at it, I'm not going to have to say it each time, but this is the way I'm kind of socializing myself to be a better host. Okay. So, Erica, there's a lot of me talking on the show too, because you're part of my therapy now. So I'm sorry. Give you my insurance card after you can bill somebody.
Okay.
So, Erica, tell the audience a little bit about you. Oh, a little bit about yourself. Sorry, I got to get my verbs right. Adjectives.
I mean, it's a Wednesday. We just gonna start there. It's a Wednesday. So of course, my name is Erika. I was born and raised in Maryland. Moved to California. Came back to Maryland. I have worked in the customer service field pretty much since I was 15 and a half. Like my first job has always been in customer service and serving. And then fast forward to when I came back to, Maryland, I was working at Capital One. There was a need, that the transition that Capital One was going through. And I end up coming up with an idea of filling that need. And that's where Lexi's Little Bug was born. And
Okay.
I started through that process in 2016, looking up the legal formations of the business, the transportation sector itself. And then in 2018, I transitioned from working full time and going straight into business and being an entrepreneur.
Okay.
So,
Tell them a little bit about Lexi's Little Bug.
So Lexi's Little Bug is a children's transportation service on demand to where parents are able to book rides for an entire school year or one-time schedule rides based on availability. So they're able to go to the website. They can submit a sign-up form. They can also quote themselves for their rate of what what their particular need is, and then submit the form. And we'll go through the busiest season is the school year season. So we go through the summer and contact everyone, letting them know, that their rides are confirmed. And then every day throughout that contract, we show up and pick their kids up and drop them off and give them a great peace of mind while they continue, to have work-life balance and for them to go to work and make sure that their kids are in safe hands.
That makes sense. So I'm going to, so that's the introduction. So I've completed that part of the show notes. Okay. All right. So I'm going to start you off like I start everybody else off in this conversation about what it's like to be a Black woman. Okay. So Jeff Bezos shoots a rocket into space, and driving past our solar system are some aliens, and they're like, "Hey, what's happening over there?" So they fly over to the Earth, and they're like, "Wow, there's 7 billion sentient beings on this planet. Whoa!" And it's like there's all different shapes, colors, genders, and all this stuff. And they pick you, and they say, "Erica, tell us what it's like to be a Black woman. We don't have a frame of reference, but we want to know from your perspective. What is it like to be a Black woman?" What would you tell?
That's a good question. I think to be a Black woman in this day and time, to the outside, I guess to society, it's oh man, I don't even. It's hard to answer this question because it could be an advantage because they know that one because of the exposure that the business market has gotten. and the attention that I would say the financing side for Black women, entrepreneur business owners, it's gotten a lot of attention of what has been thrown against us and why we're not really excelling so well. Well, not as fast as others. So it's not that we're not excelling. It's just we're not getting there at the same pace that our other counterparts might. And a lot of that I see has to do with, and I've experienced, has to do with, one, of course, because we are Black. They know that we are very tenacious. We are very driven. We are very strong. We are very determined. And I know that I'll go to the end of the world for my company at all ends, and to make sure that my dream stays a reality. But at that same token, on the other side of this coin is, because of those same characteristics, we tend to come off as opinionated, as having an attitude, as being aggressive. And that can, it can be counterproductive in what we're trying to achieve. So I think being a Black woman right now, I wear it, proudly. I'm proud to be a Black woman. I'm proud of all of the stigmas, or, the good things that come from it. But it's a job, it's an everyday job, and being a Black woman and being able to balance all of that essence that we bring to the world right now.
So as we're looking at kind of this overall balancing act between showing up as, I think one of our previous guests said, showing up as the savior and also the curse. It's like everybody wants Black women to be all the different things at the same time. But it seems to me, at least, and what I've heard, is that no matter what you choose, somebody always has something bad to say about what you've done. And you mentioned a little bit about that before, about how the judgment of Black women and the barriers and boundaries that keep you all from progressing as fast. What do some of those challenges or some of those barriers look like? If not, even if it's not in business, but just like even in your travels as a Black woman.
So even as a prime example, I'm going through a home buying process right now, and I have very close ties to this industry, on the real estate side of it too. And I've seen an experience where I can put down on paper what I have and give you everything and show you all of my assets, my income, what I bring to the table, the whole nine. Everything's legit. You get it within a certain amount of time. There's no wait. So there should be no question about what I'm presenting to you. But then there's further questions and further investigation and further confirmation of what I'm providing to you. When other, contracts or opportunities could come in. And even that right there, even that, my reaction and how careful and politically correct I've become is because of making sure that I'm presenting myself and never, burning bridges because of showing up 100% in who I am and what I believe. But even that is an example. But I just use even just real estate. And if I flip it and put it onto the business side of it, I've gone up for pitch competitions and trying to get funding for my company, and every single thing that they ask for. And in the middle of pitches, I've gotten the result and the feedback when I've asked. And this one situation really changed my mentality and how I was going to go further with getting the financial means for my company. At the end of one pitch competition, and I'm never going to take away from anybody who won, right? What's for you is for you. Hands down, everybody did a good time, did a good presentation. But for me, I knew that I shown up as 100% of my best. And I knew that I should have gotten more than that. And I'm the type of person, and not just entrepreneur, but I'm the type of person, if I didn't get it, then I'm going to come to you and I'm going to ask you why I didn't get it. So
Right.
that way I can come back home and come back to my space to figure out how I can implement the feedback that I just got. So that way the next time I will show up at 100, 110%
Makes sense. Yeah.
filling the
Yeah.
gap.
Yeah.
So the answer when I asked this question,
Mhm.
the answer that I got was, Erika, there was nothing that you could have done to change the outcome of you not winning. The person literally said that I gave 100%. 100%. So if I gave 100%, and out of the number of people who were here, why did I not get this opportunity?
Right. What was the
And
response?
and there was no response. It was left at maybe next time. It was just a risk. And I'm like, okay, if I, it just didn't make any sense. And even when, I spoke afterwards to other counterparts of this, and explained the situation just to make sure that I wasn't assuming
Right.
what I was assuming. The same response basically said that you are 99% correct in how you're feeling about this. And this wasn't just the first time. It's happened multiple times. And even leaving from that opportunity, I said that I'm not no longer, but I'm gonna not put myself out there as much when it comes to the financials. Well, not putting my business in the hands of other individuals at that level in order for me to be able to succeed. I now have to take the complete reins on this and use that as a backup instead of using that as a primary way to get business, funding into the company to grow.
So I've learned that in many of those cases that there are certain preconceived notions that they have about Black women, especially in Black women in certain types of businesses, and they kind of lead with those. And a lot of times, one of the things that I hear is it's also trying to be nice. Phrases like I don't want to set you up for failure. And it's like, fuck you. So I got this new phrase, so I can't curse a lot here. So it's kind of like when people give you a backhanded compliment, you don't say thank you, but you don't say fuck you. So you say fuck you. So it's like, I mean, okay. And that happens a lot to Black women. It's like, oh, wow, you did real well. I didn't expect you to do that well. So why not? But you give a real life example of how these types of things influence all of your business decisions. It's not like you can keep it separate, like, oh, well, and people say, because I hear a lot of times, don't let it bother you. Their words don't matter. But their words do matter. Can you talk a little bit about what that felt like and how it impacted your decision making?
So their words do matter and their thoughts matter, because what drives them to say what they say is what they is what they believe. And if based on 5 people on a panel, based on their personal beliefs, that's going to determine the trajectory of where my company goes.
Right.
So it's really, I think, 75% of the battle is trying to get through the nuances of what these people believe, on top of trying to, present my company and show them and prove to them that this is a solid business. My company has potential to grow and to also make you money, right? Like it's everybody wants to make money. My company is not gonna, you want to make sure that you prove that your company is not a risk or that they're going to lose their money.
Right.
But it is it's a very fine line and balance to walk on. And for me, when I heard that statement, I was upset, and I was just you had to process it. I had to process it for a while, but then I also just had to go back to the drawing board of like, okay, if you need this, if I need X, Y, and Z to get my company here, and this one peg is not allowing for this to take place, what are the other pegs doing? Right? Like, how can I rely on, I went internal for me. So I went internal to say, what skill sets do I have that I can, leverage in order for me to be able to get the money using my skill set. So I did Uber, I did Lyft. When COVID hit, that was a whole animal by itself to come out of COVID, even still having an open sign, and maintaining every single thing of, maintaining the operational side of the company, because even that was changing during COVID. You had a lot of rules was changing with that. So, then I made the decision to go back to work. I have a set skill set that I had for over 20 years. I am only removed of it for 2. Why don't I just go back to work? Find a job, find a schedule that gives me enough flexibility to still run the company and yet still be able to maintain my personal finances at the same time. And now being able to be another funnel for the company. So if the company needed, X, Y, and Z things to happen, or, funding the float, I now have a way to do that. And it was very beneficial. I think me deciding to go back to work, it's been a struggle, and a balance, but it's also been an asset, because now I can go for traditional funding versus me just having to go for pitching. Now I can go for loans, and they'll say, well, what other income do you have coming in? So it's actually, it's been beneficial at the same time. So that's kind of where my thought process went after that statement was made.
Okay. So in addition to proving all of the regular business stuff that is difficult by itself, you then have to prove that you're still capable as a Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the fact that you have a business plan like everybody else, you have a business model like everybody else. And by the way, let's make sure that people understand what you're working with at the table. This was, when you were doing these pitching, this wasn't just theoretical. Like, you had your contracts, you were actually doing work. So it wasn't even one of those things like, because some people are like, oh, because you were new. No, you were in the game. And so, because I just want to make sure that they understand that context, because I've heard people, they'll try to create a story in their head to make, oh, well, maybe let's make sure, and there's no maybes. She was qualified, and they was like, oh, but you're a little colored girl, so let's see. Actually, I think I know the one you're talking about, because there was another Black female who went out to that one, went out and pitched, and they said, based on what you're doing, because she makeup and doing makeup branding and stuff like that. And they told her that, based on that, and in an urban area, we didn't know, because they weren't in an urban area. We don't know. And she came back the next year and said, hey, remember all the stuff that I told you I was going to do? I did that.
Right.
Now I'm going to tell you another list of things that I'm going to do. The question you got to ask yourself, do you want to miss it again?
Right.
I was like, oh my, hey, Lord, hey, Lord.
But that's how you have to show up. Like, you have to prove people wrong. You have to prove that your business, what you said, actually worked. What you said is concrete, that you can do this. It was, when I went at that time, I was working the business and working on the business.
Right.
So I could, and this is in any conversation, whether it's a bank, whether it's pitching, whether it's your business advisors, anybody, you have to speak to what your company is currently doing, and not just having an idea. Like, you have to give what they call proof of concept. So the proof of concept was there. The numbers was there. Everything was there. And it's still,
again, I gotta interrupt. I'm gonna say it was because she let me look at it. I saw it, okay? She had it. I saw it. I could sign off on that. I want them to know what kind of credibility you coming to the table with. I apologize. See, I got to go back to my show notes, and he told me don't get so excited, but I'm like, I like her. She is my friend. Okay, sorry.
I mean, it was beyond proof of concept. It was beyond proof of concept, but, also knowing that every business, whether even if you took my face off of it, there are certain things that banks and investors and people want to see before they put their hard-earned money that they control on the line, which I also know, I give credit to that, right? Like, I'm not going to just say that it's just because I'm Black, but being Black kind of adds an extra layer, an extra barrier that I got to climb through and fight through. It's like, once I get through this side, now I have to get through this next layer, which is, do we like this Black girl's personality? How does she come off? Like,
Wait.
say,
do they say
you have to,
is
like,
it a fit? Do they say that to you? Is it a fit?
Oh, I'm sorry. But it's just, everything is a but. I don't want you to be offended, but I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but can I ask this question? But it's just like, I'm able, if we're just talking about business, and if I'm sitting in a conversation and I'm conversating with you about every single aspect of my company that you're wanting me to discuss, I would think that from this conversation that you will be able to see that I'm not, a overly opinionated person. I'm not overly sensitive. I can answer a question and take a question and keep going, because I can't prejudge what you need, right? You have you have requirements that you need met in order for you to give me the opportunity. So I don't know what that is. So, and I'm not going to assume where these questions are coming from, but I tend to make that assumption at the end. Once the result,
they don't give you, once, because they don't give you enough information, you only left with your assumptions. So one of the things that you really pointed out, and I want to make sure that people understand the difference. So there is a part of the business continuum. You do have the proof of concept, and that's just showing that the thing in your head can exist in real life. Then beyond that is the proof of marketability. Now, the proof of marketability is like, it exists in real life. Now, is somebody going to buy it?
Right.
And so then after the proof of marketability, then this is the proof of sustainability. So yeah, people are buying it, but how long is this going to last us, and what do we need to do to keep it going? I want to make sure that you all understand, when she's talking about the limitations on funding, she did not just have the proof of concept, because she's humble. She really is. It's okay. She had the proof of marketability. She had contracts in hand. She had customers in hand. She had satisfied customers, not just customers, but satisfied customers. And not just to, let's dig up Erika, but I really want people to understand the context that you're talking about. This isn't just like, especially because you talked about that, making sure that you understood the benefits and stuff like that, and you met that requirement. I want them to understand that you did the stuff. And given your model, given the lack of actual competition in the market space at the time, I am comfortable. I am comfortable that if you were a white boy, there would have been people just running after you, trying to give you money for the app and the whole kit and caboodle. But right. As a Black woman, and again, I stand. You don't even gotta say this. I stand by that because I've seen it happen.
Yeah. So. No, and I definitely believe it. But then I also, I believe in not getting stuck on the why not, and just, take that hit, take that moment, and use that to motivate you to keep, going, to prove them wrong. I kind of lean more towards that. I try to, give myself a day, if it's too hard, give myself a few days. And then after that, I'm going back to the drawing board. Like, I know what I have. I have access to my clients. I have access to the reports. I have access to everything that I need to make this keep going. And that is kind of like my answer to when these situations, take place, how can I say it? The experience of being a Black woman. So that's how I respond to it, because I mean, it happens, and the more no's that you get, and then I know for my service for Lexi's Little Bug, which is now Drively, and I'm going through a rebranding, that is a process in itself, with trying to rebrand a company when so many people, when your customer base got used to Lexi's Little Bug. They're, very used to the name. Sometimes people, they don't even call me Erika. They just call me Lexi because they identify me with the with the
brand. Yeah.
With the brand. So even within that transition, it's even still, trying to make sure that I stay on top of the branding and the marketing, because a lot of times, and even with my marketing coach, she keeps reminding me that even though I've put a lot of time and effort into research, a lot of in seeing how my, the industry, my service partners are growing, right? I see it, I understand it, but where Lexi's Little Bug and Drively is, that level of marketing might not be right now, so it's like balancing all of this knowledge that I have and having all of the pieces and the puzzles, but still making sure that I'm speaking directly to my customers and not doing something that will cause them to lose trust in the company. Because with Lexi's book, well, I'm trying to say both names. With Drively, with my type of business, everything is built on trust. My clients expect, because of my engagement and their level of communication with me, that's why they refer my business. That's why I continuously have business coming in, and the business is able to sustain. So it's just been, that balancing act and trying to make sure that I don't lose that communication line and trust with my clients as the business is also trying to expand and grow. I hope I didn't. I'm just like on the tangent.
No. What you described was kind of a lot of the crux of the Black woman experience we talk about, is this idea of having to be all of the people all of the time. It is, you are CFO, CEO, COO, and let's be clear, in a regular company, those people aren't supposed to agree. They're supposed to get along, but they're not supposed to agree. That's why you have those three roles, so there's this check and balance. But all those people live in your one head. So they're all, and so it creates this level of like this stressful, am I doing this? Am I doing that? And then trying to make decisions when you have legitimate competing interests. It's a lot easier when there are people outside of you who are doing it. And so I give you props for that. But one of the other parts that you described that I really want you to talk a little bit more about is your resiliency. Like you talk about how these things happen. At this point, it sounds like you just kind of expect them to happen. You don't want them to happen, but you just kind of expect them to happen. When they do, you go, okay, gotcha, and you kind of keep it moving. I mean, and I've seen, real talk, I've seen you take some pretty decent hits in the last couple of years, and you still just kind of get up. How do you keep doing that part? Because I know that some of the, especially during some of the stuff you experienced during the COVID time, that I don't think anybody would have been comfortable, would have blamed you if you'd been like, hey, you know what? Given COVID, I'm going to shut this down. Everybody been like, girl, I understand. But you didn't. You kept it pushing. How do you keep that going?
So I kept it going because I knew that this business was needed. I missed being able to show up for my clients every single week and making sure that when I got that text message that said, thank you, Erika, because I was still able to do this. Thank you for Lexi's Little Bug because my son was still able to do, X, Y, and Z. That is my why. It's not so much, we go into business to make sure that we make money, right? I mean, everybody, we have to make
That's
decisions.
What business is.
That's what business. No, my company will not exist. I've even gotten to the point, especially because of COVID. After COVID, I had to make some changes to pricing. I had to make changes to how the company was structured. And it was hard having these conversations with my clients. But for one thing that they always knew and expected from my brand and from the company and from me as an owner was I explained it to them. I didn't just turn them down. You know, like I didn't just make them feel like, oh, because of where I needed the company to be or the rate that I'm now charging, that I don't still value you as a customer. I still value you, but I need, I need us to understand together that what you see on my website and when you go to quote that rate is allowing me to still be able to, for the company to still be in business, to show up for your child. Because if I don't set this expectation, then 6 months from now or at the end of COVID, it could have came back and said that Lexi's Little Bug was not going to be able to be in business.
Or watch this, or you can keep doing it safely, because there are some places, some ways that you could, shave costs, but those also increase the risks.
Right.
And so I think you do, and that's one of the really great things about the way you engage business, is that you engage from the perspective of developing relationships on both the customer side, but you also do it on the vendor side, the
Right.
support and the funder side. So that, I think that's just kind of naturally who you are. Just like, I'm gonna be a decent person. And the sad part is that that's actually a celebration of business nowadays. Like, what? You a decent person?
I've had in some of these conversations. I mean, just last week, I had this conversation with a customer. We was talking about quotes, we was talking about rates and what the business can provide. The whole nine. And at the end, the way that I said no to her question, she responded back to me and said, I appreciate you for even explaining it to me, and not, I could have just gave a no, or I could have,
the policy
just
says, the policy
right.
says, the system says, the system says.
I didn't do
Who
that.
makes these damn systems?
I didn't just shut her down and make her a number, right? And a lot of times that's what happens in business. Sometimes the customer feels like they're just a number to us. And then sometimes the customer makes us feel like we're just one of many, so it's
help.
basically, and I appreciate my customers. I would not, my company wouldn't, and I need to get out of saying because I was a solopreneur. So I was the only one that was doing it for a while. But I appreciate my customers. I definitely think that there is room to be able to allow your company to grow, and you have honest and open conversations, even with your customers who may not agree with how you structure your business. But as long as you show up to them as the brand and what they believe in, they still see, because in that conversation, there's still trust that's built. She, and at the end of that conversation, she said to me, because of me giving her options, because it couldn't fit what this one way she wanted it to be, there were many other ways that Lexi's Little Bug can still show up for you. It just might not. We have to think outside the box for you to still be able to be a customer of of Lexi's Little Bug. So even that is, and that is a win, right? Because on the other side of being a Black woman, a lot of times they give you respect because they've already had a preconceived notion sometimes of what they think they might receive. And when you don't show up as that stereotype, it's like, oh, wow, I can have a conversation and there can be a point of contingency, and we can walk away from this conversation with both of us feeling like we didn't lose anything. And that could be respect, that could be dignity. I mean, it boils down to many different things that how we can break that down. But, it's a balancing act. I don't know no other way.
Right.
It's like we're jugglers. Black women are jugglers.
That actually sounds like one of the recurring themes, that it's always something that you got to keep in the air. So let's talk a little bit about some of you talked about some of the challenges that you faced in the workplace and socially, about kind of this extra layer of work to prove. It's like being a Black woman creates a social deficit to begin with. So when you walk in the room as a Black woman, you already got something to prove.
Right.
Is that Okay. So you talked about that
I love
challenge.
how you put it in like real simple terms, because I'm used to dealing with it and I don't have all them good big words like like you will. So you bring it out. I appreciate it.
That's what I do. I'm a translator.
You're a good host. I appreciate it.
But the other part of that is this kind of recurring theme. Well, we've talked about the challenges, but let's talk about some of the successes. I know we've talked about Drively and how big a success that has been for you. Even the fact that you've been able to keep it open this while it's this long, especially during COVID. So I know that's one of the big successes that you have. But what are some of the other successes that you have that you'd like to share with the audience?
So I would say one of the biggest successes is my community.
Okay.
My because when you show up as a Black woman 100% in who you are and authentic, and people see it and people know it, you have a sense of community. And in Baltimore and in Maryland, in my circles that I run to, there's not, I don't think there's anything that I could really ask for or that I say that I really need, and my community will not try to show up and get me to that line however they can get it there, or even as close. So the level of support that I've received, because other counterparts understand, and sometimes that support comes from people who sit behind the table with the ones who's making the decision, and they can share with me things that they're not sharing, the result or
Confidential information.
right? They're not sharing confidential information, but they're sharing with me, the things that I need in order to make sure that I show up and go after exactly what I want, and I'm getting the result of what I'm looking for my company to grow. Everybody wants to see Lexi Zilbug and now Drively, succeed, and I want to see this happen. So that's why, I definitely believe that my community is the biggest success for me. And having customers and clients who understand, who, look like me, and they know and they see the growth. They appreciate the growth that they're seeing in the business. Those two are hands down like the greatest successes out of this journey of building my business. I mean, 100%. That those are the top two successes for me.
Oh, those are pretty big ones, though. I mean, if you gotta have two successes, those sound like two you should have.
Right.
So, as you look toward the future, what are some of the things that are on the horizon? Maybe not for you specifically, but some of the changes that you see, whether it's technology, society, business, or what have you, that are going to impact Black women. Like, what are you preparing for?
Man, that's a good question. That stumped me. Because I'm preparing it so much just for the business by itself. I've never really looked at it as the. Well, no, I'll take that back. I think because, and this goes back to my prior point, I think because of all of the attention that Black women have received in the realm of what we're not getting, and how we're being misunderstood, and how our stereotype needs to change, and how people view us. I think that is going to continue to change for the better. I really do believe that is going to continue to change for the better, but I also believe that also comes from the more that Black women are being vocal about their experiences and putting it on, public display of what they're experiencing, it's causing for things to change in our industry. It's causing for opportunities to now have more doors open for us, because now it's making it reflective of that person sitting back, or though, that sector sitting back and saying, oh, wow, that's how that came off to her. Like they're now starting to make us like real people.
Right, as opposed to the help.
Right.
So one of the things that you have shared about this place that Black women live is understanding how to navigate the relationships. You mentioned earlier about being able to show up, not showing up authentically yourself, because when you do that, now all of these other stereotypes, but that maybe nothing may be wrong with, but now they influence other people's decisions and the way they interact with you. So it's like this mask wearing all the time, and it's a mask that you have to be able to put on and off in different places. How do you deal with that and still find an anchor point so that you know who your authentic self is?
So I anchor that by being authentically Erica as much as I possibly can to a certain degree. I think
Okay.
it boils down to the context of the conversation or relationship or the person that I'm talking to in that manner, at that time. And
Mm-hmm.
as long as I don't allow myself to go to a point where I'm compromising my beliefs, I'm compromising what I believe in my culture and what I know, of what I'm showing up to be, then that's my fine line of how I kind of balance being Black and not having to wear 100 masks and
Mm-hmm.
say which juggling, shuffling which mask I'm going to wear today. And it goes beyond just business. I mean, I can go to a restaurant, I can go, anywhere. I went to the dentist office, and the dentist asked me a question and regarding the billing. And it's open enrollment, so new things just changed over. And I asked her a specific question about a bill,
Mm-hmm.
and she says to me, "Oh, it should be fine. Oh, it should be in there." And then when the appointment was over with, and I came back out, and she says to me, "Oh, we don't see this on file," and it was regarding my name change. Now, after my appointment, you're asking me and wanting to verify my name change. And I said to her, when I called here 3 months ago and told you guys that I got married and to change my name.
Mm-hmm.
She says, "Oh, well, do you have verification of your name?" What? Huh? Like, it's on my driver's license. "Well, do you have verification of what it was before?" "Ma'am, don't you have it in the system? I know you have my records up." So then she got offended because I asked her and said to her, "Do you not have it on record that I called here 3 months ago and made the change?" And she got and she got offended and on the attack as though I was being aggressive. I was
Yeah,
not.
yeah, it was a question, and no matter either way, that's not appropriate. It's like it wasn't. Do you not have that in the record? And what I think happens a lot of times is that people respond to how they feel, not what you said.
Mm-hmm. And
You
I
sound
told
like
her,
the other person who attacked me, so I'm gonna get you before you jump on me. It's
right,
like,
and I
sorry,
told her,
crazy
I
lady.
said, and I told her, I'm not trying to be mean to you, and I don't have an attitude in what I'm saying, but you asked me a question, I'm giving you an answer, and I'm letting you know that I tried to set this expectation to make sure that this didn't happen before I got here. You're the professional. These are your desks. These are your records. You should have been able to respond to me in a non-defensive way. So now I'm on the defense because now two things are happening. I can see that you're uncomfortable because, oh my God, this Black girl is now getting an attitude with me as though I'm getting ready to react in a way that you might seem
She might not feel safe. She might not feel safe.
that you might think may seem ghetto, right?
That one too.
None of that. But there should be a level of expectation that if you make a mistake, own it.
Yeah, but they tend
So
not to.
I'm
If
sorry.
we're just going to talk about it, it's like there are a lot of people who, and this goes, I think, sometimes beyond racial issues, where it is that, and well, yeah, it really does go beyond racial issues. That we get trained in systems of oppression, and the more the system is designed around oppression, the more you respond with oppressive behaviors to other people. So if you're beat all the time, when you get angry and need to discipline somebody, you use the tools that you know. And
Sure.
so, in America's social hierarchy, oppression goes down. And so black women are, among our society, some of the most oppressed. And so what ends up happening is that every opportunity provided comes from the fact it's like, we're oppress you. And then when you respond to it, then we're gonna say, ew, you're responding real aggressively. It's like, but you so okay, as an older brother, let me tell you how this works out in real life. Okay. I'm gonna own this. I'm gonna own this. The whole I'm older, so I know that if I poke you quietly and you yell at me, you're gonna get in trouble.
Boy.
I barely touched him. I don't know why he's yelling or whatever. Oh, he's just being too much. I barely leaned on him. I'm sitting here.
The manipulation. It's the silent, emotional, under the surface manipulation that I think is truly the most harmful. One of probably the most harmful experiences as a Black woman. I mean, that's a whole nother segment. I mean, that's just something else to even talk about. But I think that is one of the most harmful experiences that can be directed towards Black women, is that undertone, the emotional manipulation that we have to juggle and feel and swallow because of what we're trying to go after, right? And it's not like we're asking for a lot, but
not even your fair share. Not even your fair share. Just a little bit more.
Like, can we just get to here? Like, can we just at least get to even? Can we at least get to even? But with that experience, I think that's what drives Black women to be very tenacious, to be very driven, to be very ambitious, because we're so accustomed to having to constantly prove ourselves, to have to constantly show up and be authentic, but not be too much authentic. Like how much of me is okay today? Right? That's kind of that question.
And I'm hoping that we can keep pushing to a space where that's no longer the metric. But I get that is where we are now. And for those who compliment you for the amount of oppression that you've had, say fuck you. That's what you tell them now.
Well, I can't say that.
Really well.
I won't say
that. Fuck you. Yeah. That's it. When they give you those backhanded Black women, you did so well. I didn't expect that for you. Oh, fuck you. What did you say? What did you say? If everybody's gonna be repeating stuff, I'll repeat. Let's try it again.
No, I mean, I wish that we could. I wish it was that easy. But there's a lot of Black women that show up that way, and big props to them, because if it, I think there has to be a little bit of everybody that makes this machine turn. I think there has to be some of us who know how to balance the mask, that we have to wear. But then I also, believe that there has to be radical ones, who I show up for and support and make sure that they feel the absolute amount of love and support just from us as Black women as a whole. Because sometimes some of us who have gotten good at navigating our lanes, we sometimes don't reach out to give the others that pat on the back and that level of support to let them know, like, I see you. You may not be doing it the same way that I'm doing it, but I respect it, because without the radical one or without the semi-radical one, who can juggle the mask, or even the ones who, kind of like play their game in
subversive.
In the total.
Those are my favorite. I love the subversive one, the spies. I love them. The ones that yes, some boss, no, some boss. Right there. I love that. Those are my favorite.
And even them, like, we have to, and I think that also is starting to grow a lot more. I think another success in just being, a Black woman in this day and age is the fact that another part of this is a layer of support that we're getting from our African Black men.
Mm-hmm.
to respect, and they are now acknowledging the level of love and support that we bring to the table,
Yeah.
and making sure that we have somewhere to come home to and have comfort to know that when we show up in certain areas, you're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I've started to see that a lot more here lately, than what I've experienced in the last 4 years. Is also changing the perception and the thought process of how our own people, our own counterparts, are treating us in the process, because they didn't know. Right now, everything, I think, because of social media, it's putting everything on the front street. Like, everything is on the plate now, so it kind of is giving everybody a mirror.
Okay.
I think social media is definitely giving one a now. How they react to that mirror, it might not be 100%.
But at least it's a mirror.
It's spotlighting, it's making people, start to realize kind of what needs to change, and making those small strides. So yeah.
Cool. So the aliens are very happy, as I'm their translator, official homie to the aliens, you know what I mean? So they are grateful for your exposition on the Black woman experience. And they realize, with all their great technology and mental ability, they can help support Black women.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have one final question for you before they journey away.
Okay.
If you could have any type of support for Black women, if you had a blank check to get whatever Black women need, any unlimited to get Black women whatever, what would it be?
A clean slate with no assumption at all.
Mm-hmm.
No assumption.
Okay.
No, to allow us to show up 100% authentically in every moment without any preconceived notion, period.
Okay.
And I think that, and that touches on business, that can touch on so many different aspects of what every Black woman does and experiences in the world today. Because not every Black woman is a business owner. I have that layer, but not all of us have that layer. I think, but even in our careers, even in our homes, even in our relationships, if we all extended each other grace, and if specifically Black women was extended grace for sometimes falling short or being different than what they thought we were supposed to be, or what they think how we're supposed to show up, I think that will give us another leg up on success and what we're trying to achieve, and being, allowing us to be able to get everything that our hearts desire, it's, and I don't think a lot of people don't ask. I mean, most Black women, we're not asking for, 50 million, $100 million. Like, some of us are asking to be the next Mark Zuckerberg, but there's, even with that, I mean, there's so many different layers of opportunities that could be extended to us to show up and be happy and thrive and have our families thrive and have a peace of mind and joy, is if we took off that layer of just assumptions and giving us grace. I think just hands down, we need grace.
I love that. I love that. And I'm gonna try to do my best, and I invite you to call me on if you see me slipping, because this ain't gonna be perfect. I'm gonna let y'all know I got a lot of stuff with me, mental health, and a lot of stuff. I'm working through. I'm gonna make some mistakes, but I'm gonna try. I am exceptionally grateful for you joining me today. Thank you so much. Thank you.
No, I appreciate it. And thank you for the opportunity. I haven't, and I'm going to be honest, you know me, well, I'm going to be real. I was a little nervous today because, I haven't, this is probably the second interview that I've done since 2019.
Oh, so you thought you was a little out of practice?
And I feel it, because I got to get back out there in that game, I got
absolutely. You sit here, but I got to give it to you. You didn't look like you were rusty. You didn't look like you were rusty. You look like, okay, you're like, okay, I'm gonna do this.
I have a good host though, because he was pulling the words out, like trying to reel it in. I know I could be a little long-winded.
Yeah, so we work well together. There you go. That's these people. Y'all need to come to the Black USA.
Don't judge my mind. I appreciate it though.
All right. Well, thank you very, very much. And I am looking forward to the next time because we want to keep the audience updated on Drively's progress and stuff like
Yes.
that. So every once in a while, we're gonna hit it up and you're gonna drop a little note and I'm gonna share with everybody what's going on with you. Is that cool?
Okay. Yes, I would love it. Thank
All
you.
right, no problem. Yo, I told y'all I know dope people. Y'all be slipping. Y'all think that I don't know the dopest people. I bring quality every day. Y'all be sitting at home like, I wonder how he's gonna bring quality tomorrow. Look what I did. I brought you all Erika DeShazo. Yeah, Drively in the house. We've had another wonderful show. I am so grateful for Erika for coming through. I am grateful for you all to be here. Make sure that you like, subscribe. That will be awesome. It helps us share our message. And we'll be black tomorrow.